That's my cousin's place.
Really?
I didn't know your cousin ran that place, really?
Yeah, Tommy Payne.
Yeah.
Huh.
Man, that's been a stable forever.
I love it.
And if you didn't know it was back there,
Oh, you would have no idea. If they didn't have that sign right there
Yeah.
next to the road, you would have no idea.
they've really though improved it quite a bit recently.
Yeah, well, and from what it was before.
Yeah, I hear you. We went for
I started going there, I don't know, 10 years
Hold
ago. I mean, the first time I took my wife, she's like, I'm not going in this place.
like
I'm
a
like,
biker
"Yeah, honey,
bar or
it's okay.
something.
It's- It's good. I said, it's the best fish around. She goes, I don't know if I'm going in there.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough looking, but you.
It is,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shoot, for sure. I grew up playing music at Air Devils, and so that's nothing for me to go and pass on. But yeah, I hear they cleaned up their act a lot. We went in there for some fish sandwiches on St. Patrick's Day this past year, and it was like cleaned. And like the second we got in, they're like, "How y'all doing? What can we get for you all? Is this past time?"
I was down there Friday night and it was, now it's probably an hour and a half wait to catch fish.
Really?
They were busy.
What's your favorite fish place out in Oldham County? You ever go to Keepers?
I haven't been to Keeper.
Yeah, it's pretty good. They got weird hours these days.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, I think,
Get it ready if you
yeah.
want.
All right, we'll call the meeting of the KIPDA Regional Water Management Council to order on Tuesday, July 11th, 1:30. Rachel, would you mind to call the roll, please?
Sure. Russ Rose.
Here?
Scott Treese.
Here.
Jim Silliman. Keith Griffey.
Here.
Mike Heichu.
Here.
Arthur Jones.
Here.
Scott Fleming. Mayor Dangerfield. Jordan Basham. Jeremy Rainey. Stephanie Laughlin.
Here.
Wesley Sidnor. Nicole Rapolo. Tom Doyle. Pete Hedges. Melvin Phoenix. Keith Morris. Jody Bramblett.
Here.
Diana Arnold. Neil Martindale.
Here.
Mark Bates.
Here.
Larry Roach.
All right.
You got it.
Thank you, Rachel. And in your packet, there is a copy of the minutes from April the 11th. And Justin sent those out ahead of time. If you've had an opportunity to look at those, we would accept a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
My only correction would be that you've got Kevin Gibson as Oldham County wastewater, and I believe that's MSD on page 2.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Hey,
So-
Russ, this is Scott. I was at that meeting and that they didn't have me on there as being present, but I was at that meeting. I don't know if that matters or not, but
Yes, sir. It definitely matters.
Yeah.
You definitely.
Scott Treese can vouch for me. I sit right beside of him.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
We'll add
We'll
you.
make sure we get that added. All right. Sure, motion is still good.
Yeah.
Mr. Bates with those amendments.
Yeah.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Treese. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Good deal. So, Justin, I'll let you introduce our guest.
Sure. Today we have Becca Truman with Quantified Ventures as our guest speaker. And I've been working with Becca here the last couple of months, and we are partnering together to try to bring green infrastructure components to the forefront of some SRF projects for this funding cycle. So as you all know, green infrastructure is added in the project profiles, and you can get a lot of points for it. But we're just working with Division of Water and Kentucky Infrastructure Authority on trying to just bring some more light to those, and how we can hopefully even have a pool of funds that will be specifically earmarked for green infrastructure and nature-based solutions. And I'll let you take it from there, Becca.
Thanks, Justin. We got that right. All right, and I'm gonna assume everyone can hear me okay. Yeah, so the last time that I attended a KIPDA meeting, I was working for Oldham County Fiscal Court. So a couple months ago, I left that position as watershed coordinator for Curry's Fork, which was a difficult decision, but I've been working for Quantified Ventures now for a few months, and I have this new role where I'm still a watershed coordinator. So I'm still focused on connecting with community, working on water quality problems. And I'm specifically focused on state revolving funds, which if you asked me 3 months ago, I probably couldn't tell you much about, and now I can tell you a lot about, and I'm still learning a lot. But appreciate Justin allowing me to come and speak to you. I've been connecting with Justin quite a bit and trying to be supportive in this role I'm in now, and helping people feel more confident in applying to the state revolving fund and thinking about how they can develop and apply for funding for green infrastructure through the SRF. All right, cool. So a little bit about this company I'm with now, Quantified Ventures. So our mission, we work with pioneering organizations to design, capitalize, and scale investable solutions that improve the well-being of people and the planet. So we are a B Corp. It's a really great company. I'm really glad to be with them. A lot of expertise in a lot of fields, and specifically with state revolving funds. So I'm with a team that they've managed SRF programs. They've completely overhauled SRF programs at the state level, and they really are a great resource. So I'm not out there alone in the rabbit hole of trying to figure out state revolving funds. And I'm part of our watershed coordinator team, and our mission as a whole is we're working to secure funding and financing for natural infrastructure projects or nature-based solutions. I'm going to use these terms kind of interchangeably and talk specifically about them. Natural infrastructure, nature-based solutions, green infrastructure. For the case of the expertise you all have and what you're doing, green infrastructure is really the term that is appropriate, but I'm going to interchange them, and don't worry about that. In terms of this watershed coordinator initiative and the team I'm in, so we currently have 4 positions. We are all funded through philanthropic dollars, so essentially grants for 2 years. There are people who want to see this work happen, and the idea is if we have more people close to the ground, human bodies to come in and say, how can I help you? What do you need to get this done? That we can actually proof of concept, be helpful, get this done, show this is possible, and then it kind of goes from there in making it easier for others to consider green infrastructure and state revolving funds. So I am based here in Louisville. I've been here about 5 years, and I'm working in the 10 spine states of the Mississippi River. It's a big area, but of course, being most familiar with Kentucky, I'm really passionate about working in Kentucky and helping Kentucky. So trying to do my best to help people here. We've got somebody in the state of Texas, somebody in the Colorado River Basin, and then somebody focused in the Chicago metro area. And just a reminder, so I am funded through grant dollars right now. So I'm basically considered a resource. If you want to talk about projects, let me know. That's literally what I'm paid to do right now, which is very exciting. Key outcomes of our roles as watershed coordinators. So we're looking to demonstrate demand. We want to be able to help communities directly by increasing the number of applications submitted through the SRF programs that have green infrastructure, nature-based solutions, which will then show states who a lot of states aren't used to looking at green infrastructure, having those be submitted, showing there is demand on the ground and people want to see that money. New and stronger partnerships. Green infrastructure, it's not just about stormwater. There's a lot of partners that benefit from and care about green infrastructure. We want to bring in those partners because you're not alone in doing this work. So helping to identify partnerships, build collaboration and coalitions, and make this a community effort. So it's not just one of the partners, one of the utilities trying to do this out on their own. And ultimately accessing funding both through SRF and through other financing and funding options. There's so much money out there right now that I'm sure you've heard of for this type of work. We're trying to bring it to the ground level because it's there, it's not going to be there forever. And now is kind of the time to start thinking about it, even if it does seem really challenging. So the sort of the problem in a nutshell, is there's this big gap between what's possible and what's being done. So at the higher levels, at the federal, the national, and even the state level, there's a lot of people, a lot of money, a lot of resources going into figuring out how to bring more green infrastructure to the ground level. There's been changes to legislation. There's a ton of available funding. There's so many tools out there. You can quantify your stormwater, you can quantify your infiltration, you can determine which trees are going to be best to actually equal a certain amount of infiltration, what you want to use. A lot of technical information out there, a lot of resources, a lot of investments. For example, me standing here right now, that's an investment in green infrastructure, and a lot of case studies to help show the case, the point, and make this easier. So more at the local level where a lot of stormwater is managed at the local level, right? City, county, that's the local level. There's kind of just been this lack of interest, lack of time, lack of understanding, lack of everything you need to make this a part of stormwater management, but times are changing because people are starting to see the value. Those resources are getting better at coming to the ground level and providing that needed support to make it viable. So there's been recognition of value, direct support to implement, increasing options for revenue, and then regulations and compliance and enforcement, which is kind of the stick side of things, but that has also changed and I think will continue to change, especially as the MS4 permit in Kentucky gets revamped. So the solution that we're talking about, it's a solution, but the solution are state revolving funds. You all are familiar with this, probably some of you a lot more than I am, and that's fine. So they are low interest revolving loan programs. So the key thing to think about here is it's a revolving fund. So they're sustainable funds. It's providing a mechanism for safe, healthy, clean, equitable, affordable water systems. So it's meant to support public health, water quality, and biological integrity. It's prioritized for disadvantaged communities. If you're in a disadvantaged community or serving a disadvantaged community, you're more likely to have grant funds tied to that or subsidy, and also fiscal health. You want to feel confident in your governments that you can supply safe, clean drinking water, have reliable, safe wastewater systems, that if they break, you have an option and not everything goes under. So the money comes from the federal government to start, it's allocated to the states. And then there's a bunch of things that happen that involve state match bonds and all kinds of things and then that money gets rolled back in and it continues. States are managed at the state level, as I'm sure you're aware. So the federal government says these things, the states have a ton of autonomy. I promise trying to learn how 10 or 11 different states works right now, complicated. But these funds are so important and they are the largest source of federal funding for water infrastructure that we have. So another connection to why I'm standing in front of you right now, why I have this job, is the BIL. So the bipartisan infrastructure law says that there is going to be billions and billions of dollars directly put to the SRF loans between 2022 and 2026. So that funding, once it's gone, it's probably going to be gone. If we look at federal contributions since these programs started, so the clean water started in '87, the drinking water started in the late 90s, there's been about $92 billion. We're talking $44 billion in just 5 years. The money is there now. Again, it's not going to last forever. So funding stormwater projects. So I'm well aware that in Kentucky, along with many states, even submitting a gray stormwater project to SRF is new, it's complicated. I'm not going to lie, it's probably not going to rank high, right? So there's challenges to this. All right, let's keep going. So why use SRF? There are a ton of reasons. If you have ideas as I'm talking to you that could be added to this, I'm trying to make the case here. So if you want to help improve this, that would speak to you better, let me know. Because this is something that we're constantly revamping, trying to make this most useful to MS4 communities. So it's useful for MS4, CSO management. You have permits, compliance, you've got capital projects that you want to fund, you've got established user rates. You've got high-risk sites, those are increasing over time in communities. You've got planning implementation, and you've got community resilience. So thinking long-term and not just kind of the Band-Aid for right now. Eligible project, this could be multiple slides in itself. There's lots of options. Just assume pretty much anything that supports water quality in any kind of way is eligible. So not just the 420, so your stormwater permit, anything 319, which is the non-point source side, 320, that's an estuary program, which would apply in some ways, not going to get into it, but there's a whole slew of things that are conservation, land protection, land purchasing, easements, that watershed management, it all applies. So some examples, so on the point source side, we've got, your traditional pipe storage treatment systems, you all know this, water conservation, so reuse systems, energy conservation, pumps, backup generators, what have you, and then land purchase for stormwater infiltration as well. There's also options for land purchasing for source water protection, that land that's around your aquifers or other essential pieces of infrastructure. On the non-point side, we've got, again, land purchasing, green roofs, infiltration basins, rain gardens, curb cuts, swales, stream buffers, and wetland protection and restoration, a whole slew of options here. So in terms of funding stormwater, so I'm not going to get into a ton of detail here. A lot of you know this. So the ranking, there are ranking points, there are points in the system of the SRF that you can get if you're adding green infrastructure. That doesn't mean your project currently is going to rank that high, because we know that the Clean Water SRF does prioritize wastewater, but there is still identified points that could help your project and maybe bring it up a little bit higher if you add in green infrastructure. MS4, so repayment methods, this is a big thing. I talk to people all the time and they say, well, how am I going to pay it back? If you're an MS4, you've got typically some amount of money through your stormwater fees to think about this, but there's other options too if you find a project that you can justify using the funds for. So permit fees, taxes, developer fees, HOA fees, if you've got those, sale of treatment process deliverables, so land application, and carbon and stormwater credits. And there's other things too, but there are lots of options, so don't try to limit yourself in how you can pay it back. A couple of examples here, I'm sure there's others. These are a couple I found. So in Louisville, they did stormwater improvements, box culvert and retention basin in Harrods Creek. That was funded. And then this application in Shepherdsville, which I'm sure you all have talked a lot about. We're hoping, it could get funded this year, if not maybe next year. So in terms of why apply, this is going to help you meet your permit compliance. So in thinking about where within your permit are you needing to add more points per se, where are you needing to kind of fill in some gaps or needs you have, connect it to your permit, right? So public education outreach, any demonstration site, you've got your county and public land, do a demonstration project. Public participation is huge. The SRF doesn't pay for maintenance, and that's a huge key there to having a successful green infrastructure project, is making sure that maintenance is planned out ahead of time. Get the public involved. Typically within these projects, even the states that are doing a great job at adding green infrastructure through the SRF program, they're still often relying on some type of volunteer support to keep those projects maintained. So connect to that. On your MCM5, your post-construction site runoff, talking about if you're looking at regional basins in your community or potentially basin retrofits, and then good housekeeping. So again, on your public property, gray or green infrastructure. Okay, what am I at for time? So,
Oh, you're good. You're
Okay.
right. Like 10, 5 minutes.
Cool. So green infrastructure, I talked a little bit about this. In general, green infrastructure, it's the whole range of potential BMPs that they're going to use plants, they're going to use soil, and they're going to add either storage or infiltration to that runoff. It's going to reduce the flows that go directly to the stream as runoff, and it's going to lead to more groundwater storage and less pollutants in your local waterways. So when we think about green infrastructure from a stormwater perspective, it includes all your natural features, both created or built. So you've got created or existing. So you have wetlands, if you have forests, your parks, meadows, lawns, gardens, and thinking about soil. So look at the soil. Is it compacted? Is it bare? Is it providing infiltration? You can enhance spaces with rain gardens, green roofs, bioswales, urban trees in areas, naturalized stormwater ponds. There's plenty of options. And then there's the more engineered side where you're getting away from trees and nature, which would be like permeable pavement, rain barrels, cisterns, perforated pipes, etc. And then you have all of your great infrastructure, which is everybody's aware of that. All right, talked a little bit about terminology. I'm going to go here. Okay, another reason, so kind of trying to make this case for green infrastructure. So I love this slide. Kentucky has over 90,000 miles of streams, more miles of running water than any other state except Alaska. That's pretty cool. In terms of who manages our water quality, who's helping with our water quality, however you want to put it, that's Division of Water, right? So their team probably gets out to about 15% of all of Kentucky's streams, which is not that many. They get out to the main ones, the blue line ones, the ones that are going to be most obvious. And so based on this last, I don't know the last time they created this map, but it's probably worse than it is in 2016. But in 2016, 79% of the stream monitored did not meet standards for water quality. They had too much bacteria, and there's a bunch of other pieces to that as well. They're not meeting water quality. That directly affects your permit and what's happening with MS4s. So visual indicators of poor water quality, trying to figure out, is the MS4 responsible? What is the MS4 role? If there's you've got a brown stream, is that because some silt fences haven't been properly installed? Is that just because the water is ripping out the stream bank? If you've got potential infrastructure collapse because streams are eroding, you've got blocked culverts, you've got pipes that have exploded next to the stream that are putting wastewater directly in the stream, flooding. These are all really common problems that I'm sure you all are seeing. So kind of compounding the issues, there's sort of two main buckets here, right? So there's the land development and the traditional stormwater practices. Land is going to keep being developed. They have to go through stormwater ordinances to properly develop that land. But what's happening is we end up with fewer streams and more water getting directly sent to those streams. That is, in a quantity perspective, it's more water. In a quality perspective, it's not filtered by soil, by roots, and it's going to be more polluted. Okay, so this is leading to increase in stream erosion, land loss, flooding, water quality degradation, and reduced biological integrity. From the climate change side of it, it's resulting in increased urgency to take action, because not only are our streams being degraded because of the land management side, but we have increased precipitation. We're seeing 100-year storms really aren't every 100 years or even close anymore, changing precipitation patterns. I'm relatively new to Kentucky, but this year seemed kind of weird. We had kind of our drought in May, and then all of a sudden we get all this rain. And then, you know, if we have a drought and we get all this rain, that land, it's compacted, it's dry. So if you think of a sponge, if it's dry and you know, put it under your faucet, water's not going to infiltrate, right? But if you pre-wet that sponge, then it's going to infiltrate. Soil works the same way. So if it's dry and we get a big storm, it's going to immediately just run off. So what are MS4s experiencing? This is secondhand knowledge, right? So increase in resident calls with issue, increase in infrastructure failures in high-risk sites, reduce staff capacity to carry out normal job duties. If you're, you know, handling all these kind of emergency type calls, it's sort of hard to get the day-to-day stuff done. This impacts your budget, results in more degradation of waterways. You know, what else is related? I don't know, tell me. So the case to take initiative from my outside perspective as a watershed coordinator and what I've seen, based on the way that MS4s are established in the community, their role, the burden of declining water quality really does seem to fall on the MS4. Who else are you going to call when you have an issue? And is it the MS4's job to deal with it, or are they just going to have to say, sorry, can't help you, right? So they're established by regulatory authority. You've got your permit compliance. I consider them an essential public service. I hope you do too. I think it'd be wonderful if more of the public saw that. They're housed within the county and city government, so you have a high level of interaction with the staff, with the elected officials, with everybody day to day. Access to resources and improved eligibility for funding. Being an MS board gives you a lot of clout in your community, a lot of ability to use that to bring in funding and to gain resources and to have access to the people that you need to help. You've got your stormwater management planning program plans, that you have an established planning process. You could think about, what do we need in 10 years? You've got that ability to do that. MS4s are widespread, so it's well documented and researched both the consequences of stormwater management and the solutions to reduce risk. You don't have to wait to do the wrong thing, because the information is out there that can be handed to you. People already did it wrong. They're gonna want to help you not to do it wrong this time. Let's do it right. Other reasons, yeah, let me know. All right, paying for green infrastructure. So there's a ton at the federal level that says, yep, you're good to go. If you want to pay for green infrastructure, states, you can do whatever you want. You can make it free. You can have any borrowers. You're required to put at least 10% of this federal allocation towards green project reserve, which could include green infrastructure. The bipartisan infrastructure law, that $44 billion, half of that, almost 49%, needs to be free, and subsidy is allowed to be put towards green project reserve. So sort of the point is that if states want to make this free and help you all out, they can do that. It's not the federal government that's stopping them. It's how the states are managing the program. Although this has been accessible through the federal government, only about 4% of these funds have been put towards green infrastructure, towards nature non-point source projects. Since this has become allowed, there's a lot of reasons why. It's just not, there's just not a bias towards, there's a bias towards point source. There's not a bias towards looking at non-point source. It's harder to plan, it's harder to manage. All the reasons that people just aren't doing it. And in general, resources and efforts to clean up waterways are geared towards point sources, but we know the research shows that our water is polluted primarily because of non-point sources. Yet somehow it's the point source folks that have to deal with it a lot more than the non-point source folks. So there's things going on. Okay, so in terms of options, I don't need to get into all of this, but there are a lot of barriers to why this has been hard for stormwater, for MS4s, and even wastewater to add green infrastructure into their projects. This piece here, I don't know if this is gonna, no, it's not gonna. So the pilot project, this is an important takeaway that Justin and I learned recently. So some states already do this. So sponsorship program, this is something that's being evaluated as far as we know at the state level right now, which would allow for the great infrastructure projects to then get a lower interest rate. That difference between their interest rate could then pay for a green infrastructure project. It's another mechanism to pay for green infrastructure and make it accessible without having to get the loan for the green infrastructure, which is a huge jump. I'm going to skip that, but if you want to know more, let me know. All right, so how do you do this? What are the options? Well, first of all, try to apply. Even if you think you have no chance, even if you do have no chance of getting ranked, getting your project funded, if you can find a project, apply, because it's going to show the state that yes, people want to see this, and it'll give them incentive to spend their time trying to help figure it out. Connect with your watershed and conservation organizations. You don't need to come up with the non-point source, the green infrastructure project. There's probably people in your community that are like really ready to just kind of help you do that, and have projects already available. If you're already here, you've connected with Justin, keep doing that. Advocacy, so talk to your community, convey to them the importance of stormwater, talk it up, get interest, be empowered to do that and make this an important issue. Just found out this public comment period, so you can submit to that, contact your state decision makers and elected officials. They seem pretty accessible, talk to them. You don't need to know everything, you just need to know that you're interested. And then the leadership side of it. So nobody's going to come in and just make this, somehow work. You're the leaders in your community. So it's really, up to you to decide to set the bar high. And if you do these projects on your public property, it's going to be a lot easier to enforce things on private property or what developers are doing or what have you. It's going to be easier to say, look what we did. Let's help you do that too. So we're looking for local champions. And that's it. I hope I didn't go too long.
No, it's perfect.
Okay.
Good job.
All right, I'm here. Appreciate you all.
All right.
Happy to take questions if there's time, if there's any.
Any questions,
Any questions?
Rebecca?
I don't really have a question, but I did look it up while you were talking. As far as Kentucky projects, you can get up to 50 points added to your score, and 10 for each item on the list, so.
Okay, you made mention about the property acquisition, so, for instance, we have a few properties that would be a great location for, some additional wetlands, and taking wetlands that currently exist and augmenting them or making them larger or more capable. Do you think that would be a viable option for these funds, is increasing wetlands and purchasing property that we can use to do that?
Yeah, potentially. I'd be happy to look at it more. Yeah,
I definitely think so.
It hit the radar, like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Okay,
And so the property is now for sale, so.
okay. Yeah, constructed wetlands. I mean, I was wondering up there and then where you guys are located, it's a no brainer, really, you know. Help out your situation a lot.
Cool. Thank you.
I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but there is talk that hopefully Division of Water might be able to have a pool of funds that's specifically earmarked for green infrastructure projects too. We're really hoping that's the case, but they're deliberating about that, talking about that. So hopefully if not this year or next year, it's something that's in the works and they're, you know, knowledgeable about that. They know there's going to be more projects that are going to be geared towards that. So if there's a pool, it's not competing with that other separate, you know, other funds. So be easier to access.
Because it is always hard to rank your stormwater projects ahead of a wastewater.
Oh, of
project.
course, exactly, yeah.
It's cleaner water.
Yeah.
yeah. One of the solutions is really just separate it out so they don't have to compete.
Exactly.
And the
Some incentive there too.
part of all this money coming from, you know, the BIL is to make that easier. So you don't have to compete, like drinking water, wastewater, of course, essential needs, right?
Right.
But there's this other piece too.
But then when people are driving around the community, especially in Shepherdsville, and they see parts of the city where, oh, well, why is that water still there? Why is there flooding here? And then what are they doing? Why aren't they, you know, mitigating that? Well, it's because the bulk of those funds are going for drinking or wastewater, but these are still essential needs as well. So giving them some kind of incentive and also maybe have a lower interest rate if they do, you know, focus on those, and the principal of forgiveness, you know, would be another potential possibility too. So just to make it more accessible and so you're not competing against the other sources. Judge Ogden?
Stream remediation, we have a creek in our county that probably absorbs 55 to 60% of the runoff in the county, and it floods quite often. Is that something that would be eligible in this project to do some different things there to keep that flood mitigation down?
Yeah, yeah.
And also we have a sewer treatment plant that's in the floodplain as well. Is that something that would be up for consideration in this project as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And part of the SRF is figuring out how ready is that project. You know, if you've got your wastewater, your drinking water, your stormwater, that you know, the concrete piece of it, right, ready, but you have an idea for the green infrastructure side of it, figuring out how ready does that need to be to attach it, and that's something Justin and I can.
Yeah, we will work integrally together with that. And so I'm already working with Mark, and one of the projects we're gonna approve or after this is geared to helping him get his collection system under control even more, so he knows how he can get better bang for his buck for the city of Milton to be able to plan for the wastewater treatment plant more effectively. Once that's done, we can then look at ways how we can incorporate green infrastructure into that project, so you can even get more, you know, bang for your buck. So you can actually say, instead of having this wastewater treatment plant cost this much, if we actually do some improvements to the collection system and have a better use of green infrastructure and for the stream too, and incorporate both, you're, you know, getting to the point of having a better understanding of how you can build a wastewater treatment plant and save costs, so you're not, you know, double dipping.
The creek I'm talking about is Hardy Creek.
Is it? Okay. I'm very well familiar with that.
And one consideration too, Justin, I've connected with a lot of other states, like I said, and I don't know if any of them have this type of established support that Kentucky has. So this could even be a project or you all meet separately or something where you can all kind of work together to start talking about these things and make it a little bit more accessible. Like you really don't have to do it on your own.
For sure. And Division of Waters, you know, they don't want another treatment plant being in a floodplain, obviously, and they're gonna work with you all to get it out of there. But and the KIAs, you know, they're great staff who can work with you all with all the funding pieces. So it's really just showing the need and convincing them. They don't really need to be convinced, they are aware of it and it's in their wheelhouse, but how we can incorporate these and make a bigger, you know, like I keep saying, bang for your buck, but get the money and get in the right places. So you're killing two birds with one stone. You're doing more with it than just engineering and construction.
All right.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions for Becca? I thought I saw somebody on the Zoom.
Anybody on Zoom?
This is Tina. I wanted to know if the BIL money could be used for land conservation as far as being like adjacent to a stream or water body.
Yeah, as
If,
long as there's a water quality component to it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hi, Tina.
Does that mean an impaired stream or?
Yes.
Yeah, so as long as there's some water quality benefit, like if it was just, you know, a field somewhere that there wasn't any water around it, that wouldn't qualify, but if it's adjacent. Just repeating what you said to confirm, but if it's adjacent to some type of water body. That's easier to justify.
All right, well, I think the key, if anything else out of this, is that, you know, there's lots of resources available to us. Justin, Becca, and, you know, the whole team utilize those to help your application and improve your chances of getting funded. So,
And you can consider this too, if you've got a potential green infrastructure project, it can be added to the cleaner water as well. So that would be maybe
For sure.
a nicer way to
Yeah.
make that jump to thinking about it.
all right.
All right, thank you all so
Thank you,
much.
Thank you,
Becca.
Becca.
All right, so Justin, you got some new water and wastewater projects to approve?
Yes, sir, Chairman. We have 3 new projects. We got 2 drinking water and 1 clean water. Here.
So let's do
Yeah, we'll do them.
them, do all the drinking water projects together and then all the wastewater. We could probably approve those with one motion for each.
Works for me. Mr. Martindale, are you with us, sir?
Yes, sir.
How you doing today?
Oh, not too bad.
Good to have you join us. Well, this is the project that I've been working with Riley Summer of Bluegrass Engineering and Neil for a while now. We're gonna try to tackle the asbestos, copper, and lead issues in Trimble County near Bedford with this project. We already got the profile all ready to go, working on the mapping here, and Mr. Martin, I'll let you take it away, sir.
What it is, we're tearing up streets to replace some of these asbestos lines, and we're just doing repairs. We're not replacing really anything. It's the old style of asbestos concrete with copper, lead, corkscrew, cork stops. So it's one, if anybody's ever worked with it before, you look at it once and it pulls out of the line, and then you go into a major repair trying to fix it back. And the whole town is set up that way, except for the main line that runs up 42 and 421 north. That's been replaced in 2010, but the rest of it's been in there since 55. So that's what we're trying to alleviate all of our repairs and keep the city up and running smoothly.
Sounds great. Well, thank you. Yeah, they're just kind of nuts and bolts of it too. Like as he was saying, it's gonna 4 and 6 inch PVC water mains are gonna replace it. So this asbestos concrete lines, like he said, has been in there forever. They're not gonna touch it, mess with that at all, as they should not. But they're just gonna replace everything along there. A very highly needed project. And we'll go ahead and thank you, Neil. Appreciate that. We'll go ahead.
No
and
problem. Thank you.
in Shelby County before we'll approve both of them together. The next one is the Flat Creek Road Water System Extension Project. This is actually gonna be in Henry County, but North Shelby Water Company will be the utility handling it. I don't know if Pete's on here or not. Peter, you on today? I don't know if he's gonna make it or not. I'll go ahead and present this one for council approval. The estimated cost of this is $1,375,000, working with Monarch Engineering to plan this one out. It's gonna install 13,700 linear feet of 4-inch water main along Flat Creek Road and 6,300 linear feet of 3-inch water main along Old Flat Creek Road and LaComp's Bottom Road in Henry County. It's gonna provide drinking water service to 15 unserved households with the possibility of more customers in the future. And it's gonna provide new service to an unserved area of Henry County. Now you can kind of see this portion of Henry County is tucked in right by Franklin and Shelby. So it's a beautiful land, but kind of no man's area over there. And so they're gonna try to bring drinking water to them, or they're going to bring drinking water to them. So those are our 2 drinking water projects for council approval. Any questions on those?
We would accept a motion to approve the 2 drinking water projects.
Make a motion.
And motion, we have a second? Second. Any further discussion? Questions? All in favor, say aye, or raise your hand. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you.
Just Lloyd, we'll go on to the sewer. This is for Milton wastewater collection system improvements. Mr. Bates and I were discussing their cleaner water allocation, where they had allocated $175,000 to their wastewater treatment construction project. Worked with Strand Associates to do a preliminary engineering report, and they're still in communication with the city council about how to move forward with that. But they're making some steam, and Mark and I thought it would be best to use $175,000 to address some I&I and some other concerns with their collection system, to get a better understanding of where some of their issues are occurring right now, so they can get that under control, and that can have them make a better informed decision on how to move forward with the construction of their new wastewater treatment plant out of the floodplain. So yeah, like I said, just addresses the I&I collection system issues, and then hopefully make them a better decision. Mr. Bates, you have anything you want to add, sir?
No, just the fact that, with that, maybe we'll have a small footprint of a plant that we'd have to do.
Exactly.
Maybe help, instead of having a $9 million price tag for the new treatment facility, maybe they'll drop that. And then,
For sure.
You got a lot less water to treat, so.
Definitely.
And then, with a $9 million price tag for a new treatment facility for city our size, and trying to come up with funding mechanisms to make that happen. It
Definitely.
would take a few years, and it'll take pressure off our current system that we have.
Exactly.
Is this only the study, or does this include like?
This is just for I&I and for telemetry and for
Clean camera our
Yeah.
system to find out how we're getting our I&I in. And a lot of our barrels in our lift stations is leaking in, so we've got to do some repairs to it. So regardless of whether we build a new treatment plant or if we take it off site and treat it with, regional, but you still gotta have a collection system. So we felt like the best money to be spent today,
Figure out where your problems are first.
Exactly.
with the preliminary engineering study of $9.7 million to build a new treatment plant or even send it to a regional, it's the same price, $9.2 million.
$175,000 is a small drop in that bucket. So, yeah. So we just
felt like we could get a better, more bang for our buck for our citizens with having a better collection system,
Absolutely. I was just curious as to why we didn't go for a larger project that would also include the CIPP. So once you find it, you go ahead and fix it as you're marching through that system.
Well, this is just good because he's using the 175 through round 2 of the cleaner water. So what we're gonna do is get this new project profile approved today, get the mapping checked in, then we're gonna do a reallocation request to take the $175,000 from the construction project to this one, because it was just such a small drop in the bucket. We just figured, but if we can find Mark and City of Milton some more money, we would definitely like to do that approach that you just said, Art, for sure.
I make a motion to
The
accept.
problem was that the board was reluctant to raise prices, rates to help cover the new treatment.
Naturally.
So they're trying to find grant money you know, anybody that can, you know, with a median household income is pretty high for that area. And so qualifying for it, it's pretty hard for grant money. A lot of money out there to loan to you if you want to pay it back, but you gotta have a way to pay it back too. Without a rate increase, you can't pay it back, so.
I make a motion to accept the project.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye, or raise your hand. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? All right, so project is approved. Do you have any more wastewater projects?
No, sir, that's all.
Perfect. All right, let's jump on down to your water management coordinator
I
report.
don't have too much today, council, other than our cleaner water, round 1, round 2 projects. I don't know what I would do with my coworker colleague Ryan Lloyd over here. He's my saving grace, man. He's helped me out a lot with all those. My ship was sinking and he's definitely helped me get it floatable again. So we are working a lot right now with Louisville Water, with all you guys, but with Louisville Water, we're really making some strides, working with Andy Williams, who's the project manager on all those cleaner water. So we're getting there. And then I just haven't heard from y'all too much lately. So I just rest assured that we're working really hard getting all these going. If you have any questions, you know where to find me, you know how to get a hold of me. So there's quite a few of these, as y'all are aware. So it kind of every week kind of differs about which one we're working our hardest on. Yeah, 62. I think we're doing 48 of the 62 too. So
Are you indicating that the squeaky wheel gets the grease?
that's what Keith Morris has been throwing WD-40 my way any chance he can get. So he's been getting quite a bit of grease on his projects. He has 7 of them too. So, but not showing any favoritism whatsoever at all. So if you guys have any questions or saying I haven't talked to Justin in a couple of weeks, what's going on, just give me a shout and I'll switch back around and get you guys back on the radar. So there's a few of them, but we're knocking them out for sure. We're doing a lot of the environmental right now for all the ones that are applicable for that. We all have incorporated Ethan Schrage, who's in our division, to help out with that. So he's working a lot on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the Kentucky Heritage Council reviews. Been a huge help with that as well. But yeah, as far as SRF goes, we worked with Division of Water regarding all of their comments on each SRF project application that we submitted last December. Answered all those on your all's behalf. So we're moving full steam ahead with that. We have KIA staff here. I'm going to introduce them here in just a second, but working with them, they said that the intended use plan the draft has just been released. It's not on their website yet, but it should be any minute now. I think Don said he's going to go make that live after he gets back to Frankfurt. But Thursday is their public hearing to go for any public comments about that. And then there'll be a 30-day comment period for that before it will become finalized. And then we will have our fiscal year 23 intended use plan and all the invited, this is 24. Yeah, sorry. So 22, that's always hard to go. 2025 will be starting this fall. So we'll have our 2024 project. So it'll be released and hopefully some of our regions will be on there and we'll be in touch with you all about that, especially with Shepherdsville. The call for projects for the fiscal year 25, like I was just saying, will be starting this fall. It's always the first week in September. So utilize Becca. I can't express to you all how glad I am to have her in my corner. Green infrastructure and nature-based solutions has always been something that we've tried to push and work with you all and incorporate into your all's projects, but with cleaner water and with some of the SRF admin work that our agency and our division does now, it's just become harder and harder to do that. And having her in our corner as her sole capacity to make sure she pushes us through is going to be awesome. And I really look forward to working with her and utilize us for this next cycle. If you have any kind of projects, like she said, even if you're worried that they won't get invited, the more KIA, the more Division of Water sees that this is a need in our communities and that we are actually going for it, the more they're going to work with us to retrofit the point system and get those projects included. So if you have anything that you all have on the radar for fiscal year 2025 SRF funding, please come and see us so we can get those in the works. So in the next few weeks, we're going to start scheduling our County Water Management Council meetings. As you know, with cleaner water and whatnot, that we have a lot of projects already in the pike, but this is important for us to really gauge what your all's priorities and projects that are on your all's horizon for this next fiscal year, so we can kind of rank those, prioritize those, look for funding for those. If and when there's another round of cleaner water, around 3, those will be the ones that we've already done our due diligence, done our work, have our homework there. We can say, hey, well, we already have our projects. We can once again get together and deliberate that and make sure those are still the projects, but that will already, that work will be already started on the front end. I'll be reaching out here in the next 4 or 5 weeks, get those set up for sometime in September. Kentucky Rural Water Association's 44th annual conference is coming up in August, next month at the Golf House. That's going to be here in Louisville, August 28th through the 30th. And then I don't know, it's tomorrow, so that's the registration fee. I don't know if anybody at the Kentucky Stormwater Association conference is happening in Bowling Green tomorrow and Thursday. So we'll be able to brief you on that. Beck and I will be down there presenting on that, but definitely want to reach out to you guys, because as Arthur was just reiterating, stormwater is very important to our communities too. So it always kind of gets the back seat with a lot of drinking and wastewater, but it's something that we really need to pay more attention to help out, especially in our areas that are in floodplains and wetlands and watersheds. I definitely want to introduce everyone. I'm sure you're well aware of the vital role that they play in our communities around the Commonwealth. But today we have Debbie Landrum with KIA. We have Don Shire from KIA. Very glad to have them here with us today. And I just want to open the floor up to you all if you want to say anything or
I just have
make
a
any comments.
couple things.
Sure.
If you've got just a second.
Definitely.
On the grants, if you have a new mayor, if you have a new parent, see me, just see me. Tank projects, I've had a lot of those come in. You don't need plans and specs if you're not upgrading and you're not putting a mixer in, but if you put a mixer in or if you upgrade, I have to have plans and specs, so just kind of keep that. Vendor hold, keep your audits up to date, because if you go on vendor hold, there is not much I can do for you. So that's been a problem. Guys, I don't know if any of you have gone through the draw process, but Scott Trace gets my award because he has dealt with me. And I ask a lot of questions, don't I, Scott? I do, guys. I come back to you 100 times when I'm doing these draws. And it's because these things are going to be audited one day, and I am doing my due diligence if you don't lose your money. So let me ask those hard questions. Let me be the pain in the butt that I am. And
I'll be a pain in your all's butt too. Take off some of that load off her.
yeah, so that's the reason I ask all those hard questions. Now, good news. If you have a grant, we do have our 10% supplemental available. It is first come, first served. So if you have a round 1 and a round 2 grant, come to me for 10% of both of those grants. What I've got a form on my website. What I need is I need your as-bid budget. You will have to turn your as-bid budget with that to show me that you have overage. But we are approving those, so that's an option. SRF, okay, we're not going to be approving any more residual funds. We're just so overcommitted right now. We have to save that for increases and stuff. So no residual funds. Like we said, the 2024 rankings aren't complete. DOW and the KIA are working on those invites. And the 2025 call for projects will open in September and be open till mid-December. Natalie, we have a new attorney at KIA, and she is ours. So she is doing some great things, and we do have a new staff. We have federal program specialist, Sandy Sanders, that's going to be helping John Brady with the loans. So, but our Natalie, our new attorney, is compiling a guidance document on BABA. So we should be posting that on our website real soon. And our 2023 Governor's Local Issues Conference is scheduled for August the 16th through the 18th at the Golf House. So everybody make sure to attend that too. Again, if you've never talked to me, come up, see me, get a card. I'm a good person to know.
Very good person.
That's all I've got, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don, you got anything?
I really don't, just knowing that the call for projects is coming up. work with Justin as good as you can to help him get those projects ready, because I know he's overburdened with all the grant stuff too, as we are.
Yeah, sooner the better on those for sure.
All right. Anything else?
Good.
All right, county updates. Anybody have anything they want to bring up to the council?
You guys were talking about conferences earlier and
Mhm.
meetings that we should attend. Mitigation in the mountains this year for.
That's right.
The Association of Mitigation Managers.
Prestonburg.
Yes.
When
That'll
was
be
the
coming up in
date?
September. So,
September 19th to the 21st.
Yeah, 18th through the 22nd or something like that, that week,
That week.
the 18th, September 18th.
Okay.
So,
And I'll be there if anybody wants to hang out.
I'll be there too.
it's a very effective conference, a
Yeah.
lot of good, smart individuals who really care about all the issues.
It really connects the dots between a lot of water, wastewater, utilities and green infrastructure.
Somebody who attended a lot of conferences, the best one I've ever been to.
Definitely the best bang for your buck.
Nice.
All right, anybody else have any announcements or anything they want to bring up? I have one that I just want to make mention, and many of you may have seen it, but kudos to everybody in this room and specifically the water systems and the operators. There was a recent story by CNBC put out. JD Power did a ranking of all the water systems across the United States, and Kentucky ranked #1 in the best water and most reliable service. And Louisville Water even got specifically a mention in that. So kudos to you guys and systems all across the state. So they surveyed folks from all across. So I know a lot of times we don't necessarily get the best press in the world, but in this particular case, I think certainly everybody in this region is doing the very best that they can, and it shows. So thanks to all of you. Anybody in the room have anything else they want to bring up? Any other announcements?
This is Tina Halbig. We're working with partners and we will be showing September the 10th at this Louisville Speed Art Museum, the movie Burned, B-U-R-N-E-D, Burned, Protecting the Protectors. It's about the firefighters and their turnout gear, as well as the aqueous film forming foam, AFFF, and it'll be about PFAS, forever chemicals.
All right. Thanks, Tina. Anybody else? All right, we'll accept a motion to adjourn. Arthur, I know that.
He's ready.
All right, Scott, second. Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Get up.